How many times have you heard that tortillas, rice, and plátanos are bad for you? And that if you want to be healthy, you need to switch from white rice to brown rice? Well, my friends, that is diet culture talking. And the worst part is that it's affecting the way your kids see their bodies, their culture, and their relationship with food. Today, I'm joined by Dalina Soto, registered dietitian and the author of the Latina Anti-Diet. And together, we're going to unpack why diets don't work and what parents can do to raise kids who feel proud of their food, their bodies, and their culture. Welcome to the Messy Bite Podcast. What a better time to have this conversation than the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. And joining me, I'm so delighted to have the one, the only, someone who I'm looking to call my friend, Dalina Soto, registered dietitian, food lover, author of the Latina Anti-Diet, also known as Your Latina Nutritionist. But what I love most about Dalina is that she's not afraid to speak her mind. She's sassy. She's going to tell it like it is, but she's really passionate about reclaiming our culture and our foods. So welcome, mi querida Dalina Soto! Welcome.
I can't stop laughing.
That's the only way I could introduce you. And if I could put some music behind it, I would definitely put some Bad Bunny or reggaeton.
Yeah, some reggaeton, yes.
Because we're on the same page. So before I start with the first question, I'm gonna tell you something of how I first read this book.
Okay.
This beautiful creation, the Latina Anti-Diet. And I had goosebumps. To all of us who have been told by society we aren't enough and that we need to change who we are to fit a mold that was never created for us. We are enough, y punto.
Yes.
Why this book? Tell me about the behind the scenes. What made you write this amazing book?
Well, you know why. You're in it too. You're in the space. Because there's just not enough of us. And I think the reason, my thought behind the book was okay, if you don't have insurance, or if you don't have the ability to work with a dietitian or with a professional that's going to really care about you and your health, then maybe you could have a book that is easy to understand. I'm not talking in super scientific lingo. I try to make it in a way where it felt like you were in a session with me, talking shit, because is what I usually do. And it would make you feel comfortable understanding nutrition in a way that, again, was not hard or, stressing you out, telling you what to do, because that's not who I am as a human. I don't like to educate, but I like to give people the ability to choose. And if you choose the wrong thing, I'm gonna laugh at you later on when you know that I was right, Pero while it's happening, I'll be like, okay, yeah.
Escuchamos pero no juzgamos. We're listening but not judging. We're listening but not judging.
We judge later.
When did you have a realization of how diet culture was harming Hispanic culture? How did that happen in your own life to saying this is something that we need to speak about because this is how I'm seeing it?
Yeah. I think going to school and then having our foods villainized, and I'm wait a second, I grew up eating this every day. My mom cooks Dominican food every single day. There is no, let's try this, let's try that. It's this is what we eat. I comida en la casa ella, right? So I grew up eating all these foods, and I grew up, my family, is very close. So it's it was such a cognitive dissonance of like, well, everybody in my household and around me is healthy and we all eat all of these foods. So like, why am I going to school and they're telling me something different? And I think obviously it didn't happen overnight. I didn't just wake up one day and I was like, here we go. But I'll tell you that like reading other books that had nothing to do with nutrition, that really had to do with like just our culture and like a lot of the colonization of Black and brown bodies. I started connecting the dots because of what I saw from a nutrition perspective and then what I was learning from like everyone else, right? So I list a lot of those books in there, but like Brisca's book is one of them. Dr. Sabrina Strings was probably the one that made me click the most dots because I was like, all right, yeah, this is about, Black women's bodies, but as a Latina, like I am a Black woman, right? Like I am, I am Afro-Latina. I shouldn't say I'm a Black woman, but I am Afro-Latina. And I don't think a lot of people, it's like a weird thing. Some people don't want to be. And I'm just like, it is what it is. I'm Afro-Latina. And I wouldn't, say, I wouldn't take up the space and say that I'm a Black woman because I obviously benefit from a lot of white privilege because I am, lighter skin, and just like I can present very different to the world and not get a lot of that. But there's so much nuance in all of this. So like as I was learning, I'm like, all right, this is what I learned in school, and all of this is making sense because I'm like able to connect all of these dots.
And I think we're still learning it as RDs, and we're still really like pushing towards kind of challenging the narrative as you really do in the book. This is what we've been told. And frankly, like, I'll be honest, this is what the advice that I would even say as a registered dietitian, right? Like change your white rice to brown rice, or like, don't have too many starchy carbohydrates because they're going to raise your blood sugar. I think even as RDs in the healthcare profession, even being Latinas, we were taught this was superior, this was better, this was healthier. And so it's really changing that narrative to say, are they really? Like, why, why are we thinking this way? And so you mentioned something about acculturation, and acculturation really, and that's really fascinating to me because I'm from the border town of El Paso, Texas, Ciudad Juarez. So in the journey of acculturation, I would say I'm fully bilingual, right? I'm really half and half because I'm from the weird place of being like border town girl, which I think we're like a different breed. But you also mentioned that acculturation is really related to wanting to be thin, right? So explain to the audience this idea of our culture and acculturation. How is that related to us wanting to be thin?
Yeah, so I think, with acculturation, it just means that you are trying to assimilate, right? Or make yourself closer to the new culture that you're in, right? And when you're in the United States, that means American. And as we're learning now, every day of this nightmare is that America only sees America as white. Right? And in that same lens, when we're thinking about whiteness and thinness are interconnected. And so when we are assimilating to the, colonized way of thinking, we're only going to think of, well, I want to be skinny because that's what I see in this quote unquote culture that's quote unquote better than mine. And so, and that's where a lot of like what we know, like eugenics and a lot of the politics of health come from, right? Is this idea of thinness being equal to health when we know that it's not true.
So I just love all your real life examples, because even I have some of my clients that would say like, you want to be beautiful like Thalia, like you want to be beautiful like these soap opera stars, right? Then stop eating X and Y, right? So I think it's just part of our culture, but I think it shows up in a different way.
In many different ways.
Yeah. You work with maybe young RDs, or or maybe let's talk about how we were our upbringing as RDs.
Yeah.
What's one thing you've had to relearn as the years gone by, as you've been more educated, that you've changed your mind, you've changed your views on, that you didn't have in the past?
I think weight loss, right? The intentional depriving or restriction to cause the weight loss. Yeah. I think that was something that probably one of the bigger things that I had to shift and relearn. Because we were all trained to be weight loss dietitians. Yeah. I think now we have new programs that are like health at every size, and a lot of younger RDs are coming out and from the get-go being health at every size. I don't think that was the case for us. I've been a dietitian for 13 years.
No, we would have a scale, and
we had scales in our office.
That's what we were taught.
We weighed everybody the minute they came in. We talked about their BMI. We measured how many ounces they lost.
Why did we do this?
Because that's what we were taught. We paid a lot of money.
That's what we were taught. Yeah. And so if there's RDs listening, what could be one thing that you wish just an RD listening knew about cultural nutrition, cultural curiosity, inclusivity, that they just might never learn in school?
I just think that RDs need to stop acting like they know everything. I don't even know everything about Dominican culture. There's parts of the DR that obviously my family's not from, that do things completely different. Just because I'm Dominican doesn't mean I know everything about Dominican culture. People cook things differently. People have different traditions. We have the mainstream that people think about and talk about when you think about different communities and cultures, but the nitty gritty, the pueblos, the places that people don't really talk about or think about, they have very different ways of thinking, eating, doing things. I think.
And you know what? It's okay not to.
It's okay for not know. And I think that it's okay. This is something that I think everybody needs to understand. If the world would be such a better place if we all understood, it's okay to learn new things and change your mind. It's okay to have thought one thing and then get some new information and change your mind. So as a dietitian, it's okay that we learned all of these things, but now we need to apply critical thinking skills and nuance. And then we have to talk to the person in front of us. Everybody is different. Everybody has a different lifestyle. You can't assume, and you also can't judge, and you can't dictate. That is not our job. And I think a lot of dietitians love to dictate and I love being right. I said at the beginning.
Don't get me wrong.
Don't get me wrong. I want to be right, but...
So let's start with the basics. And you talked about this beautiful in the book. To anybody out there that is a mom, a woman, especially Latina, probably has tried some type of diet in the past.
Yeah.
Why don't diets work? What's the deal?
If they worked, then everybody would be skinny. I think we know that.
But you're telling me that diets don't work? Oh no.
If they did, it's so simple, right? I think that people just assume it's so simple. I'll go on a diet, I'll lose XYZ weight, and then I'll be done. And it's no, because we see that every single day in our practice. People go on these extreme diets. Yeah, they can lose a crap ton of weight, but what happens when you can no longer sustain the diet? It's just that cycle and sad.
Yeah.
A
lot of the emotional component of health that oftentimes in nutrition, they're taken away.
Yeah.
And we just focus on, the weight or the physicality. Yeah. But hello, especially I deal with kids. It's mental health issues, right? How can we
trauma
separate mental health from a child when we're talking about these struggles that are integrated, not just physical well-being, emotional, but mental. So what are your thoughts on these so-called, quote unquote, flexible diets? So I'm good 80% of the time, but I'll do some cheating 20% of the time. What are your thoughts?
I mean, if you want to do it, I love that for you. I just think it just feels icky, right? Like, why do you have to be good, Monday through Friday, and then go on these like binge trips Saturdays and Sundays? It's like, if you take a step back and think about it, how is that healthy for your body, right? Going from having what people usually call clean meals, right? Yeah. Having these like perfect meals to then, and let's talk about blood sugars and like you being, a diabetes expert.
I thought you were going to say that, me being diabetic. And I was like, oh, no.
I'm not going to say that. No, never say that. No. But you being an expert and having lived experience, you know how detrimental it is for you to go on like these crazy lunatic binges. Your blood sugars are going through a freaking roller coaster. So in the long run, how is that supposed to be healthy? The amount of stress that you're putting on your body Saturday and Sunday when you're going buck wild, it's going to catch up to you in the long run. Like it just makes no sense to me. And I get it. People don't have the same mentality you and I do because they haven't sat through lectures. But even there's dietitians that promote this. And I'm like, did you have the same education as me? Like sometimes I sit there and I look at these humans. I was going to say something else. And I'm like, did we sit through the same classes? Yeah. Because I don't think we did, because that is not what I was taught.
Because I think our experiences, like I've even said it myself, like we just come from a very different background, lived experience, family, culture, that it's like, it resonates, it hits differently. Like I think for Latinos, like balance is totally different, like than maybe what an American or a European standard. I don't know. It's just, there's a different way of living. It's hard to explain because as really we know, what's the percentage? Only 13% or less than, what's the percentage of how many registered dietitians are actually in fact Hispanic? I think you mentioned in the book it's less than 13%.
Yeah. It used to be 6 and then it went up when I started it was 6 and then when I was writing the book it was 13. So I don't know what it is now.
So slightly better, but how are we RDs expected to give different type of advice when there's just very little diversity in the foods that the RDs represent? And so, yes, we need like different points of view, especially when it comes to food. So talking about different points of view, this is another one that I really loved. Let's talk about the Mediterranean diet. Like this is the one that we always hear as the number one ranked diet is the Mediterranean diet. Yeah. That's often called the gold standard. Yeah. What gets lost when we're comparing everything else to this quote unquote Mediterranean diet?
I mean, you tell me, you're the one that travels into the Mediterranean 3 or 4 times a year, but how often are you eating brown rice?
Never.
Literally. Everybody talks about the Mediterranean diet, but people in the Mediterranean do not eat brown rice. No,
but
then you come here to the United States and everybody's like, whole grains, brown rice. And I'm like, where is the brown rice? Show me the brown rice anywhere else.
And frankly, it just doesn't
grasp flavor.
Like it doesn't taste as good. And I think even like Europeans would even say, I mean, they're always French and Italians are like, and it's a taste good, like the taste and the taste. It don't.
Where's the taste?
Like it don't taste good. It don't taste good.
I will die on that hill.
Yeah, so Mediterranean, yes, I think we need to substitute it with something else. And not to mention, you mentioned the book that it's a certain part of the Mediterranean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't talk about the African countries, right? They don't talk about, the people of color that line up the Mediterranean Sea. But also I think, something that people often don't think about is that a lot of these countries do have universal healthcare. A lot of these countries have walkable cities. You just spent the summer in Spain and Italy. Like people are chill. I mean, yeah, they're stressed or whatever, but like, you know, I don't know if it's still closed from like 1 to 4, and then you only have the cafes open, and then people go home to eat. Like, it's such a different lifestyle. So we talk about the Mediterranean diet as if it's like just the food. It's also the lifestyle, and we cannot live that lifestyle in this country. It is unfortunately not an American way. Like, you can't do it. I don't have sidewalks, okay, in my neighborhood. Like, I can't even walk to the supermarket. If I wanted to walk to the supermarket, the closest one to me, it's literally a 10-minute walk, and I can't even walk there because I have no sidewalks. Because there's so many cars in these intersections that, like, I would never walk it. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be so afraid for my life. My kids ask me all the time, why can't we walk to school? There is no sidewalks for you to walk to school. In the perfect world, absolutely.
Like you, and I love that you talked about this, because I hate it when people want to just use the comparison of, oh my God, in Europe, the food is so much better, right? In Europe,
it doesn't have any red dye 40.
It's like no red dye 40, right? No, when actually, let's be honest, there is some type of food additives, but they're called a different name. You nailed it. It's a lifestyle. Like, Dalina, nobody eats in the car. Everybody is always, like in Italy, I was even surprised. Like, I was having a gelato. I was like, oh, I was going to get a gelato. And they're like, sit down, miss. It's just, you can't compare one with the other. And that, unfortunately, it's not the lifestyle of the United States. No, so we can't just point to one food. It's like, let's talk about like having access to healthcare and maybe having more parental leave and, you know,
or access to more fresh fruits and vegetables. I mean, like, it freaking sucks. Like, again, this is something, I didn't write about this in the book, but I think about this a lot as my kids are getting older and we have sports every night, and there's dance, there's baseball, there's softball, there's soccer, there's all of these things. Yeah. And sometimes we have to eat on the go because it's like, I don't even have time to make dinner. And what are my options? What are the options? It is not going to a cafe in Italy where you can get fresh food. You know, even if it is pizza, you're getting fresh vegetables, fresh everything made there. No, sometimes I have to hit drive-thrus. And, you know, I'm not trying to badmouth people. I do it too. Like, I literally have to go to drive-thrus and eat food that, you know, is fast food. It's not even fast casual because we are in such a rush. And I'm not ashamed, because my kids being fed is better than them going hungry to baseball because, oh my God, they can't have a French fry. You know what I mean? But we don't have access to it. Like, we don't have access to these mom and pop places that you can go and grab a quick meal because food is so expensive. Even fast food is expensive. I mean, I haven't been to Europe in a very long time, but when I was there, like a euro or two would get you like a full meal for you to walk around.
Yeah, like, it's ridiculous. Like we would get incredible food and it was very inexpensive. And so yes, we can we just not compare one with the other? The Mediterranean, it is not a diet. It is a lifestyle. It is,
and we are the freaking orange.
We are, or like, I don't know, the orange, like something way different than that, Dalina. Like, we're beyond the fruit. We're like something different. Is there one thing or something that you're doing differently with your kids that maybe your parents didn't do? And that you maybe had to relearn, and you're like, I want something different for my kids?
I mean, there's a lot of things that I do different from my parents.
Like what?
Obviously, like the chancletas and the belts and even if I never got like beat or abused, I mean, I had chancletas thrown at my head. You know what I mean? We all did. Yeah. But I think that the hitting kids, that is a big no for me and my spouse. We do not ever do that. And my mom is always like, no, porque si fuera yo, you know? Porque tú, si yo toco ese muchacho. I'm like, yeah, tócalo, sí, vamos a ver. Vamos a ver qué pelea vamos a tener si tú lo tocas. You know?
And you mentioned in the book that you really had a very positive relationship with
I did.
Like, your parents didn't really do the typical, like, no te levantas.
Yeah.
hasta que no te comas los vegetales. So I think that's, you're lucky, or that's an anomaly, because for a lot of other Latino families, you know, the typical hasta que no te comas toda tu comida, no te levantas del plato, or si te portas bien, te doy un postre, un dulce, or
I mean, I grew up with that, pero, you know, I think that because of my body growing up, I didn't get that. I mean, I can't say that I heard it for my cousins or like my brothers, or I mean, the whole like, you have to eat everything on your plate was never something that I heard growing up, even like watching other people. But I mean, comments about people's bodies all day, every day. I mean, you know, la flaca, la gorda, la rubia, la prieta, these are all literal nicknames in my family. You know, and one thing that my mom and I, you know, butt heads about is that she always has comments about the bodies for my kids. Not like in a negative way, but she'd be like, wow, Naila, te ve bien flaca, mira que linda. And I'm like, so you're basically saying that she's pretty because she's skinny. And and it doesn't matter how many times I try to explain it to my mother, it just does not go through.
So is that one that you're like,
oh my God, yes. Or like, she's always talking about her hair. Like, tú no la peinas, tú deja que el pelo. And I'm like, why does it bother you that her hair is curly and out? Like, you know, she looks like Merida from Brave. It's just, you know. But why does that bother you? Right? Like and that's what I ask her all the time. I'm like, why does it bother you? Why does it matter? Who cares? She has beautiful curls.
And have you gone through with her, or it's still no way? Yeah.
It's still every day of my life. I just, you know what, a lot of the times I just let it go. At this point, I'm like, she's well into her 60s. You can't change people anymore.
Yeah. And I think
they're not willing to learn.
For my audience listening or watching, it's like, it's hard when abuelas are just such an integral part of daycare. Either they make food, and I hear a lot from my moms that it's challenging because they're fighting something that they're not going to be able to change. So the reality is that, yes, like sometimes it's going to be really, you can have those conversations, and don't be afraid of having those conversations with your abuela. And I even say, like, bring them to my visit, like bring them along so I can talk about the myths, the how do we talk instead of doing this? What could we do? And, you know, sometimes we might have a little shift, but other times we just got to accept what we might not be able to change and kind of work our way around it. Right.
Yeah. And the workaround is the children and being like, listen, just let it go. What abuela said, you know, mama, we call her mama. What mama said is not good, but she's old. That's what I say.
Or we just, you know, we love her, but we have a different point of view. And kids know it. Like kids, even for example, for me, it's always like, cuando te comas esto, te doy el postre. And I'm like, there's no, they don't have to earn it. It's like, it's there. And so that's really hard because it's like, and so she serves it and she looks at me, she's like, I don't know what to, like, I guess I put it there and you just do what you do. So, but my kids now, like they're older, Emma's older, and she's like, but I thought candy was not supposed to be a reward. Like it's not good or bad.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Like, so parents out there, they're listening. So even though your mom or dad and abuelos will have a different philosophy, teach them what your values are, and they're listening and they're watching what you do.
Yeah, my kids would be like, I'm leaving space for I'm like, all right, leave the space.
How mature of them. I'm leaving
I know, they leave the space for the dessert.
Let's settle the debate once and for all. Brown rice versus white rice. Is white rice healthy?
Yeah. I just said I was going to die on that hill. Yes.
But no, Dalina, brown rice has more fiber. Like brown rice is the way to go. Like brown rice is healthier. White rice is bad. Your response?
Well, I mean, my response is, if you love brown rice, I love that for you. But also, the nutritional difference is like so minuscule, it's not even worth it to me. So if it's worth it for you, cool. But if it's not worth it for you, then you should just eat the white rice. I also think that like people need to understand that all white rice is brown rice to begin with, right? I think that that's logically, when people realize it, they're like, oh shit. So like the reason why brown rice is brown is because it has the bran shell on it. And that shell doesn't allow it to take flavors as well. So that's why it doesn't taste as good.
So you've heard it here. Oh my goodness. If you didn't know that, you have permission to eat white rice and never feel guilty about it, because guess what? White rice is one of the most consumed food across the world.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And there's like 2,500 different types of rice. It's insane the amounts of rice. I mean, we only eat a certain amount, but they have. And, I think that, again, when I'm talking about like brown rice versus white rice, I'm not talking about like the red rices or like the wild rices. Those are completely different. I'm talking about either you eat rice in its full form, which is brown rice, or you process it and you get the white rice that the whole world eats because it takes flavor, it's digested easier, it's cooked faster, and it's amazing.
And not to mention, like in the past, it was viewed as a high-end commodity, like as a luxury.
It was
because
a luxury.
It
so
takes
much work.
It takes so much work.
Polish it and get it.
I mean,
and then it switched.
Once we understand even that cultural component, it allows you to think differently about the food.
Oh yeah, the pispiris nice people used to.
That's pispiris nice, so that means I'm eating pispiris nice.
We're so pispiris nice.
We all want to be pipiris nice. So I'm going to continue eating the white rice. Okay, so takeaways and practical takeaways. If I'm a mom and I've had my struggles with diet, with weight, how can I start challenging these messages at home or how I live? Like, where do I start?
I mean, I think you can start by learning where you learned those things from. And then once you're able to like pinpoint it, you're able to see like, oh, like that made no sense. Like there was no reasoning behind it. I think having honest conversations with yourself and the people around you and questioning why, I think it's like probably like the best thing. Like thinking back, like why? Where did I create this idea from? Like what triggered it? Like why do I believe this? Because then you can start, again, having these honest conversations with yourself and kind of like rewording them, changing them, challenging them to create new ways of thinking.
Yeah. Even just self-awareness.
Self-awareness is so important.
When I'm talking to parents, it's sometimes I have to work with the mom's own beliefs, mindset, and oftentimes it has to be relearning some of the things that they grew up because they want to give their kids, a different relationship. And so the first part that I think you're going to, it's let's just start by asking the questions. Like, can we just ask the questions of why? Okay, ways to bring culture to the plate without guilt. How do you bring culture without guilt or teach patients or clients?
Going back to eating like those recipes that you grew up eating without changing them. I think unless you have like an actual allergy, unless you are vegan, vegetarian, and you're switching it up for those reasons, but like you should be eating food as authentic as possible, just so that you can learn if you like it. If you want to change things, but also like just kind of like healing a lot of those things, like those rules we were taught. That's the word I'm looking for. Like starting to challenge and heal those rules, because a lot of the times, we change things because we heard somewhere along the line, like, oh, this was healthier, this is better. But it's like, who was telling you that and for what reason? So I think that like going back to the basics and making food, again, like what's the word? I just want to keep the traditions. Like, I think that the what I see a lot of is that, like, one, a lot of us don't even, like, even myself, like, I still don't know how to cook every single dish my mom cooks, because we don't have the recipes. Like, people aren't writing. Our parents, they never wrote anything down. And so, like, now it's like, how are we going to learn how to do this? Right. Of course, there's recipe books. Like, I think you could find, but, like, is the person writing this, like, following it authentically? Like, are they changing things up because they were, quote unquote, trying to make it healthier? How can we go back to eating food like it was? And, like, learning what you like, what you don't like, and then, switching it, but, like, making peace with that and knowing that the food as it was good, or it's good.
Yeah. And I think it talks about how we're often seeing either our food become healthier or, like, whitewashed, or just and kind of saying, going back to the original recipe and saying it's fine as it is. Like, it might not need modification.
No, it might not. Or you could always add something, like a side, or more onions, more peppers. I think that it's crazy, because also if I could go back to school, I'd want to double major in nutrition and anthropology, because just from, like, an anthropological perspective, and just of the way humans migrated and things moved around, like, the veggies that the United States has that we taunt and then we say is so great is found here in this huge mass of land. But then you go to other countries and they have completely different types of vegetables, things that we will never see here in the US because they're not going to be carried in supermarkets. It's like letting go of the idea that, like, broccoli, kale are, like, the end all be all of, like, greens, and, like, understanding that there are so many other veggies that are giving us the same minerals and vitamins and fiber, and sometimes they have even more, but they just don't look like that, because what we're seeing in the marketing and supermarkets in the US are just we could have a whole nother podcast episode about that.
So healthy eating does not need to be brown rice, chicken, and broccoli.
And chicken.
It could be calabacitas, mango, plátanos, arroz, puerco, right?
You're, like, getting all of the nutrients.
Yes.
It just, a lot of our foods aren't as colorful. And that's another thing. Like, eat the rainbow. And it's like, my rainbow was, like, in there, but blended.
It might have a different hue.
You can't see it,
a different hue. Okay, Señorita Dalina, it's time for the rapid fire. Okay, you're going to say the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh, can I curse?
Right.
Oh, God, I just cursed. You told me not to curse. Didn't you tell me not to curse?
No, you can curse. That's fine.
Okay. I won't.
We'll just say beep. Okay.
You're going to hear so many beeps. Just beep it.
Okay, so the food memory from childhood that still makes you smile.
Childhood that makes me smile? I do always remember my abuela cooking. Okay, and this is a really funny story, and it's a food memory, but it's also not. It's a very funny memory, but it's also not, like, very
Go for it.
Great, to be honest. So my abuela had Alzheimer's. So this is really important for the conversation, because, as you know, people with Alzheimer's forget things, and usually the first things that they forget are, like, the day-to-day. So this is probably, my cousins and I talk about this all the time. So my abuela had Alzheimer's, but it was, like, still early on. She could still cook, clean, do everything. And one time, she was cooking, and it was all of us. It was the summer. We were all there, and she was making locrio, which is red rice with, like, pork in it. It almost looks like Mexican rice. It's like that yellow orangey color, but we add, like, pork and, like, tomato sauce to it. So she was cooking it, and then she served it to us, and then she was like, "Oh my God, I think one of my nails fell into the rice."
Looking for the nail?
But again, we knew she had Alzheimer's. Like, nobody, like, we were just trying to be, but, like, that's something that we talk about all the time. Like, abuela's nail was just in the rice.
That's hilarious.
And I know from a food cleanliness and all that stuff, like, that.
But you remembered it, like that.
I remember it, and just like all of us laughing and looking for her nail. My
Until this day, we never found the nail.
We never did, but Her nail was there somewhere.
Oh my God, Dalina. That is
she was
an incredible
so
story.
distraught. Because you know how like cleanliness is such a big thing for them. And like, you know, just her brain wasn't, like, she was just not all there anymore. So like La Pobre, she was so distraught. She was, and we looked for it, we didn't find it, but she was like, I think my nail is in there. And we were like, oh my God. So we were all
fine.
Like,
it's just a nail. Like
we lived.
We're good.
We lived.
Okay. Continuing on. Cafecito or té?
Cafecito.
We all know. Go-to comfort food?
Pizza.
Okay. Most overrated healthy food trends?
Protein.
Tostones or maduros?
Tostones.
I would have said both. What's for dinner in your house tonight?
Oh my God, this is so funny because I actually went to Whole Foods yesterday and I bought a tray. Because today we have soccer, dance, and a bunch of activities. So I bought, it's chicken cutlets, mashed potatoes, and green beans that I'm just putting in.
Boom, 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 boom.
Putting in the oven.
What's one food that your kids shockingly love?
Broccoli.
Oh, okay.
And green beans.
What's one phrase that you are constantly saying at home when it comes to dinner time?
Come sit down and eat. Literally, just come sit down. Just come in and get the food, please. Just sit down. Like, it's such a struggle to get them to just sit and eat because there's always a million things happening. I'm just like, come get your dinner.
I love it. I love it. All righty. You did awesome. That was it.
Yay!
Yay! So as Dalina just said, let's bring back some of the rice, white rice. Let's add in more of that nutrition.
Yeah.
The calabacitas, the plátano maduro, the boniato, the batata, without the guilt, because there is a lot of nutrition inherent in that food without having to change it as it is.
The malanga, because now I see all the taco places having malanga fries, and I'm like, oh,
yuca fries, hello.
Yuca fries, malanga fries. I'm like, oh, now you know what a malanga is.
Where can people find you?
On the interwebs as Your Latina Nutritionist, and that's it. Like, it's that everywhere.
Your Latina Nutritionist. And I'm going to also say that now you can also get Dalina's book, Latina Anti-Diet, in Spanish as well, porque
it's
somos
paperback.
Bilingües y latinas, biculturales. So I love it. I can't wait to hear. En español. Mi querida Dalina, this has been so much fun. I loved having you here.
Gracias.
And now it is time for the Messy Bites Real Life Challenge. So after everything that we've heard from Dalina this week, in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, I want you to bring back one cultural food you grew up with and bring it into the family table. And I don't want you to focus so much on the nutrition aspect, as they now say, the macros, but rather maybe find a way that you can either teach this recipe to your kids, invite them to the kitchen, or just share a story of how you grew up and how you ate that recipe. Because I think this is a great way to just celebrate our culture, our heritage, and find ways of connecting with our kids that go beyond, esto es bueno para ti, this is good for you. So remember, food is not just fuel and nutrition, right? Food is so much more. It is connection, it is memories, it is history, family, and it is love. So let me know what food you decide to share with your family if you are inviting your kids. I would love to see pictures, so tag me along on my Instagram. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what recipes you're going to be sharing all throughout this month. And make sure that you're subscribing or you're sending this to your comadre and your friend. As always, hasta la próxima. Until next time.